Good morning. On behalf of the staff and students and the Board of Education of USD 350, it's my honor to welcome everyone to our Veterans Day program this morning. I want to thank and commend Mr. White for putting this program together a couple years ago. We didn't have it last year because of our COVID situation, so it's good to have everybody back for this ceremony this morning. So thank you to Mr. White and all the staff and students that put time and effort into this program. While it seems this corrosive political atmosphere has us divided as a country, we are still the United States of America. Honoring those who have served in the armed forces or are currently serving is something we can all get behind and keeps us united. Many have fought and many have died to protect our freedoms. Others may not have been called to fight, but have still served with dignity. No matter the level of service and sacrifice, all of those who have served or are currently serving deserve our utmost respect and gratitude. Thank you to all those that have served. Thank you again for joining us this morning to honor our nation's veterans, and I will turn it over to Ms. Lexi Brummer to give a student welcome. Thank you.
Veterans, family of veterans, and community members. On behalf of the students at USD 350, I would like to welcome you here today and personally thank you for your dedicated service to this country. We are honored to have you with us and would like to take this opportunity to show you our gratitude. Not only have you defended our freedom and our rights, but you have modeled for us what it means to give of ourselves unselfishly to a cause we believe in. You've sacrificed your comfort for the benefit of others. You've taught us the value of dedication, determination, and resilience. You are true heroes. Thank you for your leadership. We have a great deal of respect for you. Enjoy the program. At this time, if you are able, please stand and show your respect toward our flag as our elementary students, led by vocal teacher Kristen Knight, perform the national anthem of the United States of America. The lyrics of the national anthem come from the poem Defense of Fort McHenry, which was written by Francis Scott Key. When he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner over 200 years ago, Key referred to America as the land of the free and the home of the brave. Those words are as true today as they were then. Throughout this nation's history, American soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardmen have bravely answered the call to defend our freedom, to aid our friends and allies, and to turn back aggressors. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to the more than 650,000 American service members who died in battle, or the 1.4 million who were wounded. But we can, however, recognize and thank the 25 million veterans still living today. Arthur Ashe once stated, "True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but the urge to serve others at whatever cost." You veterans have done just that. You have served your country, whatever the cost. You are great examples for future generations. Today, it is our privilege to say thank you to all of the American veterans, to let them know that we appreciate them for all of their service and honor them for their sacrifices. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those willing to pay it. Today, we celebrate America's veterans for keeping this nation the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome to today's ceremony, and thank you for attending. We're here today to honor our service members and to remember the sacrifices they made and the courage it takes to defend honor, duty, and country. Veterans, I am humbled just to be in your presence, so thank you for what you've done. I'm the guest speaker today, so by the time today's over, you may think the military service you served wasn't as bad as you thought. But anyway. Veterans are recognized as men and women who have served or are currently serving in America's armed forces. I want to welcome and acknowledge all of the veterans in the audience and thank them for their service. Whether you served 1 day, 1 year, or 30 years, whether you served in wartime or your service helped maintain a peaceful environment, whether you made a conscious decision or were drafted, you were part of a greater whole. There has been no single military power in the history that has done greater good, shown greater courage, liberated more people, or upheld higher standards of decency and valor than the armed forces of the United States of America. Whether you wear the uniform today or wore it decades ago, you represent a fundamental truth. It's not powerful weapons that make our military the greatest in the world. It's not sophisticated weaponry and technology that makes us the most advanced. The true strength of our armed forces is seen in men and women who have worn and now wear the nation's uniform. I'd like to ask service members at this time, and veterans, if you're able, to please stand. Yeah, you go to be seated. Thank you. Thank you for answering the call to duty. You've made our armed forces the most respected in the world. Thank you. I know we have one. Any others in the audience here that served World War II? Want to raise your hand? Guys, World War II ended 76 years ago. Have a young gentleman still with us. Very proud of that. Thank you. Commitment came from the people who joined, but it also came from the families and the spouses and children of any service members that went. We know that you've lived through difficult times and you yourself have made sacrifices. So at this time, if you're able, if you're a family member, any family member of a veteran or a service member, please stand. Thank you. To our students, I hope you truly understand the impact that these veterans have had on our lives. They are the true heroes. These service members we honor today come from different walks of life. But they share several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication, and integrity. All the qualities that are needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. They didn't serve because they thought it was glamorous. They were called to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways, and that was in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given them and has given us so much. Since the first shots were fired at Lexington and Concord, our Revolutionary War began, American women and men have been answering the nation's call to duty. Millions of Americans have fought and died on battlefields here and abroad to defend our freedoms and way of life. Today, our troops continue to defend those freedoms every day, and every day, more Americans step forward to say, "I'm ready to serve." They follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans. General George Washington said in 1789, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive veterans of early wars and were treated and appreciated by our nation." Veterans, as you look into the eyes of some of our students, you are undoubtedly looking into the eyes of some individuals who someday will serve in uniform just as you did. It is your legacy that they lived through as they serve to protect the freedoms for people they will never know. You set that standards for them. In a letter to those who served honorably in World War II, President Harry S. Truman wrote, "As one of the nation's finest, you undertook the most severe task one can be called upon to perform, because you demonstrated the fortitude, resourcefulness, and calm judgment necessary to carry out that task. We now look for your leadership and example in further exalting our country in peace." Our veterans are the reasons our children can live free. They are the torchbearers of freedom and democracy. They are our loved ones who have sworn to protect this nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day, was originally designated to celebrate the end of World War I, which was to be called the war to end all wars. It wasn't. We had more wars after that. But First World War ended November 11th, effectively ended November 11th, 1918. And that's why we celebrate on November 11th each year. Legislation was created Veterans Day, and it was, I quote, "dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be hereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day." As time went on and we engaged in further conflicts during World War II and Korea, veterans groups lobbied for change. Rather than honoring only the soldiers who fought in World War I, the holiday would now honor all veterans from every war and conflict the United States had encountered. We've honored troops and their service and sacrifice ever since. Today, Veterans Day is a celebration to honor all American veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice the common good. It is also a day to reflect and remember. To wrap this up, I want to read a passage from President Abraham Lincoln in his second inaugural address, which was delivered just as the Civil War was ending. And he said, "With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves with all nations." All of the quotes I've used today involve one thing: eternal peace. They all ask for a lasting peace. No one wants the wars that we have. But when we have those, we have people who answer the call. President Lincoln's words have stood the test of time and serve today as a commitment to never forget our veterans and those injured in our nation's defense and the families of those who have died in its service. Veterans, you have done your duty. To your families, to your communities, to your fallen comrades, and to your country, You honorably served your nation with great distinction. We can never say it enough. Thank you for your quiet courage and exemplary service in war and in peace. We're grateful for and acknowledge your many sacrifices and accomplishments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, would my next group of student volunteers please come forward? Every morning in each classroom in this district, we take time to honor the country by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead and go past. We don't do this as a politically charged statement or to say we agree or disagree with the current political climate. We recite the pledge rather as a reminder that all of our differences and ideologies can come together and we can all work toward a common cause. That common cause is liberty. As with any daily recital, sometimes it becomes mundane and maybe somewhat monotonous, and we tend to forget its meaning. Today, these 10 students volunteered to come forward and remind us the meaning of each portion of the Pledge of Allegiance. We will say the Pledge of Allegiance later. At this time, it's just a reminder of what it's about.
I pledge allegiance. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, dedicate all my love and devotion and give my promise to be faithful and true.
To the flag, Old Glory, a symbol of courage, an emblem that stands for and represents dignity.
Of the United States of America, we are 50 individual states with individual pride, dignity, and purpose. Each one is represented individually on the flag, yet we have all come together for a common cause, the love of the country.
And to the republic, I also pledge my loyalty to the government, which is a republic. A republic is a form of government in which people choose representatives to govern. The government is the people.
For which it stands. This government is also being represented by the flag, which to I promise my loyalty.
One nation under God. The 50 individual states are united as a single republic under the divine providence of a higher authority.
Indivisible, cannot be separated, incapable of being divided.
With liberty. Liberty is freedom, the right of power for one to live their own life without fears of threats or retaliation by their government. The citizens of this country are afforded the freedom to pursue life, liberty, and happiness.
And justice. This is the principle and qualities of dealing fairly with others. Each person is entitled to be treated justly, fairly, and according to proper law and principle.
For all, each individual has equal value. This means it is as much your country as it is mine. These principles are afforded to every local American regardless of race, religion, creed, or any other criteria.
Okay, thank you, students. You can go ahead and go back off to the side. Junior high and high school choir, please come on down to the risers. At this time, I want to say thank you to all of the students who volunteered to help with the ceremony today. I sent a very late email requesting volunteers. Within minutes, I had students responding to do so. Our next and final performance is a medley performed by 7th through 12th grade choir students, directed by Mac Knight. I'm going to wait until they get in there. Okay, our next and final performance is a medley performed by 7th through 12th grade choir students, directed by Mr. Mac Knight. Veterans, feel free to stand when the branch of military that you served in is represented in this medley. At the end of the performance, we will all stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Typically, we reserve Memorial Day for the remembrance of fallen service members. But it's appropriate to take a short time today before this final performance to take that moment of silence of those who were killed in action or were reported missing and never returned. I'd like to ask you to bow your heads in silence as we do that. United States Army.
Let
Students and staff members, please stand, stay standing, and give our veterans a round of applause. Veterans, we hope that you've enjoyed today's program. A lot of people pitched in to honor you. Hopefully you were able to enjoy the coffee and coffee cake prepared by Mrs. Patterson's baking and pastry class. And hopefully you were able to see the artwork and shows of appreciation from many of our students and staff. If not, there's more coffee and coffee cake. Please stay around, visit with each other. Walk the halls, see what's happened. We have some stuff on the halls out here. We have the wind socks that have been hung. We have the artwork that Mrs. Banky's classes have worked on and some of the elementary stuff. So make sure you take that in and just enjoy the day as the day is yours. Also, we would like to have your address. We have a table out front, and the reason we ask for that, last year we didn't get to do this, but we were able to collect some addresses, and our Ks and Kets were able to prepare something and deliver them to homes to honor the veterans. So we would like to have your address for that. We're not going to sell it to any marketing firm or anything like that. I'm not going to post it publicly. It's just some little cards to fill out on the table out there. We would appreciate that. That concludes today's ceremony. I'm going to ask the veterans to go ahead and dismiss themselves now as you go. Thank you again for coming. We appreciate you. Students, stay and where you're at, and we'll dismiss from here. All right. Thank you, guys. Veterans, if you have family members, they'll be coming through in a little bit, and they can stop and talk to you as well.